Okay, let's get started here. So all of Unit 1 is going to be intro and review, and we're going to start out with 1.1, which is all about lines. I'm going to break this into two separate lessons. The first lesson is just some basic review about equations for lines and using lines. Then the second section is going to be about using those lines in a real-world context, where we're going to be taking a look at what's called linear regression. So let's get started. So first, there's a bunch of equations that I'm sure you guys have learned like 50 times, but you're going to need to make sure that you have these written down somewhere because you're going to need to use them. And I'm just going to call this equations. Not even anything else, just equations, like Cher or Madonna. So the first one is the equation for slope. So in algebra, we use m to represent slope because of Latin, but it doesn't matter. The equation for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, where you have some point x1, y1, and some other point x2, y2. Now bear in mind that slope can be 0 if the two y values are the same, and if the two x values are the same, you'll have a division by 0, which means that the slope is undefined. So anything, I don't know, I'll just put a 5 over 0 is undefined because you can't divide by 0. However, if it's the other way around, 0 over 5, that's just 0 because you can divide by numbers that aren't 0. Alright, cool. So there's slope. Now the next one that I'm sure you guys remember is y equals mx plus b. This is really helpful, especially if you're trying to graph a line, because you have the y-intercept and the slope. And it's really easy to come up with the points from there, really easy to graph it if it's in this form. In this case, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Now, one form that a lot of students don't have memorized or really don't have a ton of experience with, but I think is really important for you to have experience with, is the point-slope equation. The point-slope equation allows you to go from having a point and a slope to having slope-intercept in just 2 steps versus 4 the long way. So the point-slope equation is y minus y1 equal to m, the slope, times in parentheses x minus x1. Now it's important to note here that plane y and plane x stay y and x. You use this if you have some point x1, y1 and a slope. And I'll go over the use of this in just a second. The last equation I'm going to talk about here is the standard form. The standard form equation is ax plus by is equal to c. And this is where a, b, and c are all integers. In general, you want a to not be negative, but it's not absolutely necessary. If you're given a line in this form, you can use a few things to your advantage. First of all, c divided by a is the x-intercept, and c divided by b is the y-intercept, and negative, is it b over a or a over b? I have it in my notes as negative b over a. It's really negative a over b. I need to fix that. So negative a over b is the slope. So if you're given a line in standard form, you don't need to change it to slope-intercept. You can find the y-intercept just by doing c over b, and you can find the slope by doing negative a over b. So you don't need to change it to y equals mx plus b form. All right, let's take a look at an example here. Let's start with a situation where you're given 2 points and you need to find the equation of the line. So let's say our 2 points are, let's go negative 3, 5, and let's do 5, 1. So the first thing you need to do to find the equation of the line between these 2 points, well, I guess you could graph the two and then use the graph to find the y-intercept and the slope, but we're going to go through this the algebra way. So you don't have to do the second point minus the first point. In this case, 1 minus 5 is negative 4. I could also do 5 minus 1, which is positive 4. But if I do 5 minus 1, I have to do negative 3 minus 5, which is negative 8. And this is going to reduce down to negative 1/2. So that's the slope. Now to find the y-intercept, I can use the slope-intercept equation, but I'm going to show you how to do it using point slope and why it's easier. So point slope is y minus y1, so plain y. And now I need to decide which of these 2 points I'm going to use. I'm going to choose to do 5, 1 because neither of the numbers are negative. So this is going to be y minus 1 equal to negative 1/2 times x minus 5. Now from here there's only 2 steps. I need to distribute the slope to both things inside, and then I need to get y by itself. And you can do those 2 steps in 1 step if you want, if you're feeling super talented. So y minus 1 is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 5/2, or 2.5 if you're feeling like that. And then adding 1 to both sides give you y is equal to negative 1/2 x. And then 5/2 is 2.5. 2.5 plus 1 is plus 3.5 or plus 7/2. There we go. That's all there is to it. Now, a few other things here. 2 last parts of the section of notes is making sure that you understand the definition and the algebraic, consequences of the words parallel and perpendicular. So parallel means that 2 lines will never intersect, and they'll never intersect if they have the same slope. And perpendicular means not only that 2 lines intersect, I always misspell this at least once per school year, means not only that 2 lines intersect, but that they intersect at a 90-degree angle, which means that their slopes are opposite reciprocal. So an example of an opposite reciprocal, if we take that negative 1/2 from above, reciprocal. If we take that negative 1/2 from above, the opposite of that would be positive 1/2, and then the reciprocal would be 2/1. So negative 1/2 has an opposite reciprocal of 2/1. 1/3 would have an opposite reciprocal of negative 3, and so on. So that's the first bit of knowledge that you need to have from Unit 1, Lesson 1, all about lines. Now I have notes that are on Google Classroom that you can copy onto your notebook from there. I have a classroom notebook that you can use. You can take notes as you're watching this. You just need to make sure that you have your notes written down for this section. All right.